Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's me here, Kevin the Ninja, at the Moto Dojo. It's Thursday, and yes, we're still grinding. Today's our 10K Thursday. Tomorrow will be our rest, so will Saturday to prepare for our Super Run Sunday, where we're doing another half marathon. Going back to Infinite Warfare Zombies to prepare for our Super Easter Egg run. I've dedicated a full marathon for that game happening on August 16th. So stay tuned, it's going to be great as we continue to build up our endurance, as we're continually grinding Black Ops 7. That'll help us gear up for that super run. It's going to be exciting. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. And if you're so inclined to work out with me. Let's work out together and let's get this 10K done today as we continue on our track here for Singularity. Check this out. We have 12 more guns to get for Tempest before we hit our Singularity goal. And it's going to be great. As soon as we hit that goal, we're going to go back to regular casual playing, getting the other challenges done. So we're finishing up hopefully some more assault rifles today as we get our grind on. Yeah, they took away snipers only. Like, I know, they only bring it out for like 5 days, not even a full week it seems. And then, you know, just to tease us. And yeah, it's sad because snipers only should be a 24/7 match mode that you can jump in on at any given point in time. So, oh well, we got our snipers already, Tempest, so they're done. But yeah, Snipe City, man. Snipe City is all the joy and fun. I think everyone loves to hit up the snipers. So yeah, but we're continuing on. We are with the AK-27, so we're going to finish that up here. We just have about 2 more Bloodthirsties to get, and then we're well on our way to jump into the next assault rifle. It's been really fun to get back into the swing of things. Had a rough weekend, as you guys know. I had to say goodbye to my dog, and it was the most painful thing I've done in a long time. So as anyone knows, if you've had animals that you've had for a while, you grow a certain attachment and bond to them. It's really great because there's that saying, you know, animals and their owners are kind of alike, and I dare say they're absolutely alike. So if you have an animal, make sure you hug it, you give it all the love and joy, you take it out on the most walks that you can get it while they're still here with us, because they're only here for a fraction of our lifespan, and yeah, it seems to go by super quick. So we're going to be gearing up, like I said, to our next marathon. This Sunday we'll have a half marathon to work out a ton of stress that we've been loading up on ourselves, and it's going to feel great getting back into our endurance building for our next super marathon event. And so I've dedicated August 16th, that Sunday is going to be Super Run Sunday, where we're going to hit 26 point some odd miles and hit it up on Infinite Warfare Zombies, doing the whole Super Easter Egg, beating Mephistopheles at the end, and coming out victorious. So it's going to be a great grind, and we are in it for the hurt. That's what I got to say. It's going to be a long run, so it's going to give us enough time to build up our endurance, get our diet dialed in, and lock in for that super run. I'm very excited for that because it's, again, one of my favorite zombies experiences of all time. Black Ops 4 is a very close second, and Black Ops 3 another. I think that would be my third favorite. That guy just piping right there in that house. So we're going to get ready for that, and yeah, in the meantime, we're going to keep grinding out these guns, Tempest, to get that Singularity done. Alright, knees feeling good, ankles feeling. The ankle was kind of bugging me today. The knee's been fine, but then the ankle was kind of bugging me. So it's like, you know, when one thing, it's like one thing after another. Sometimes one thing feels good one day, and then the next day, the other thing doesn't feel good. That's the beauty of getting old. And you know what we say, as yesterday we were talking about our health age. Age isn't anything but a number. TLC taught us back that in the 90s. You know, they taught us that age isn't anything but a number, and yeah, it surely is. You can look and act a certain way, and you could feel a different age at any given point in time. I often say you're as old as you feel and young as you act. If you wake up every morning and you're feeling kind of sore day after day and you're not sure why, you don't work out, maybe you're not working out at all, and you find that you're still, you know, within your prime, so to speak, it's kind of something that you have to address and assess in your own day-to-day. From my standpoint, I like to look at every morning as a chance to remind me of how I'm doing. Last night, I was really disciplined on my diet. I'm really trying to dial it in. I want to try and get back into ketosis for this next marathon because I feel like ketosis is the way to do marathons. I've ran marathons in and out of ketosis, and I gotta say, the best experience that I've had running a marathon has been in ketosis. For those of you that don't know what ketosis is, it's the preferred method of burning fuel for energy. Ketones, when you go into a high protein, high fat, zero carb or low carb diet, your body will react in a way of burning fuel by pulling from your energy reserves, which is our fat reserves. From my standpoint, I always have love handles. Those are my energy reserves. I kind of have to check myself and say, hey, do I still have energy for this half marathon I'm doing Sunday? Yeah, okay, then we can do it. If I'm running low on my fat reserves, I can maybe pad them in preparation. But ketones is the preferred method of fuel for the brain to burn because it's ever present and it's very primal. I like to think it's not really primitive. That seems like it's, old fashioned, but it's the primal way of burning fuel for energy because our ancestors did. Before we had microwaves, before we had refrigerators, we had fat reserves to rely on for survival. And we fasted out of necessity of survival. Think about this. They weren't always eating, and they weren't eating 3 meals a day. No way. At most, they were eating once a day. And if you get into that habit of a controlled fast, this is not starvation, a controlled fast, where you're showing your mind through your body discipline that it's only going to get 1 meal a day, and you're making sure that that meal is loaded with nutrient-dense, mineral-based calories, enough so that you can pad your energy reserves and still, make it through the next day, then that's the good sign of a healthy, metabolically flexible body that is fat adapted and well refined. If you are always eating, then you're basically saying to the brain through the body, undisciplined, how you are dependent on the next meal that happens every 2, 3, 4 hours. So everyone that eats more than once a day is setting the body up to have a harder time, not necessarily for failure, setting the body up for a harder time of not getting a meal. We all know there have been days, maybe nights, maybe long days of working, maybe long days of stressing or being on the road or simply where food is not available, and we get hangry. There's that term where we are expecting a meal, our bodies and our minds are expecting to get a meal and we don't give it one. That turns on us very quickly through the mind, as the mind has been set up through the body's lack of discipline of needing calories, especially glucose, sugars, every 2, 3, 4 hours. What that does is, it creates pain for the mind because the mind doesn't understand, or it's having a hard time understanding, the state that it's in. It acts like it's starving. It's not starving. What it's actually doing is it's just trying to understand and pull wherever our fuel is. But if you're in a primary, non-preferred, primary glucose, sugar-based burning fuel for energy, then your body is having to supply that to the brain. And like I said, if you go past your 4, 5, 6 hours of eating a meal when you usually do every 2, 3, 4 hours, then instantly the body will say, hey, I am in a weird state and I'm going to react kind of violently, kind of extreme, because I'm expecting a meal that isn't there. So what happens is we can understand the body mechanics of how the body can burn fuel for energy, and we give it a preferred method, a sustainable method, something that's long lasting, that doesn't give you energy dips and spikes, and that is called ketosis. So the bottom line is, ketosis is achieved from burning fat for fuel and using that as energy in place of carbohydrates, sugary carbohydrates, and glucose in general from carbs or direct sugar. And it's something that our body is very familiar in doing. Our bodies are super familiar with this process. Like I said, it's primal, not primitive, even though our ancient ancestors did this method all the time out of necessity of survival. because they didn't have refrigerators, they didn't have microwaves, they didn't have TV dinners or DoorDash, so they had to, out of sheer survival skills. And it's great to get into that state because your body has energy reserves. Everybody does. I am talking everybody has energy reserves. I know I do, especially in the winter. It seems like I always pack on a little bit more pounds in the winter, and that's great because that just adds to my energy reserves. I pack on weight, aka fat, and that goes around my waist, my love handles, and I have that as energy reserves. The problem with everybody, and I'm going to say majority of people, because the majority of people aren't in ketosis, the majority of people aren't fat adapted, where they can pull from their energy reserves and burn that as fuel, use it as energy. Majority of people go through these cycles where they're losing weight and then gaining weight, losing weight and gaining weight. And your energy levels follow that same trend. When you are not fat adapted and when you are reliant on carbohydrates every 3-4 hours, your body has to send signals to the brain that I'm either getting fuel or I have fuel for energy. And guess what? If your brain says, I don't have energy, you're not thinking clearly, you are not able to process things as quickly, and you are bound to be angry because the brain simply doesn't understand that, hey, I am not prepared for this state that I'm going through. And so your mind recoils in horror by lack of calories, by lack of glucose, by lack of sugar. Because that's the primary, and I say primary, but it's not the preferred, because the preferred method for the brain is to always have a constant state and flow of energy and fuel to burn as energy. If it doesn't, then yeah, it goes into dips. So we have spikes in energy based on what we're eating and when, and we have this opportunity now that we recognize that we have a primary and a preferred way of burning fuel as energy. So our preferred way is what I was mentioning, ketosis, burning ketones, because that is the way to sustain energy throughout your day. One thing I really recognize from being in and out of ketosis is my energy levels. That's exactly what you'll see in a ketone, high fat, high protein diet, low carbs, is that your energy levels will be sustained. You will not be going through energy spikes. I'm going to call it a lot of people here in this one. Don't you notice that before lunchtime, you kind of feeling a little hungry? You may or may not eat breakfast. Most people I hear don't eat breakfast, which is okay, because a lot of times when we wake up, we're kind of still full from last night's dinner, right? A lot of people have a lot of dinner and dessert, and that kind of sits with us throughout the night, and we wake up in the morning feeling, full, almost still full. And that's okay, because the first thing your body needs in the morning is hydration. Think about this. If you've gone 7-8+ hours without any liquids, yeah, you're dehydrated. But the body goes into autophagy when you're sleeping, so it's not needing an influx of water because it should have water in the cells that it's using to recycle. But yeah, you're still dehydrated. So your brain might be getting signals from your gut saying you're hungry, but in the morning it's thirsty. Your mind doesn't easily distinguish thirst and hunger. Most of the time when we're hungry, it means we're thirsty and we're dehydrated. So the challenge is to prolong meals by subduing those hunger pains, or we think are hunger pains, by giving it hydration, giving it fluids, giving it water. Because what happens is when you hydrate the body, most of the time you're satiated. In fact, you're not hungry at all, because that signal, like I said, the brain has a hard time distinguishing hunger and thirst. So here's the trick. You go, anytime you get that feeling that you're hungry, around, when you wake up, drink 16 ounces of water. Don't chug it, but sip it over the course of 10 minutes. Then, if you still feel hungry, about 10-15 minutes later, drink another 16 ounces of water. Do that. I don't think a lot of people do that, but it'll change the way your body is responding to those hunger pains or those triggers, and I guarantee it, you're not going to feel hungry. And you might just go all the way into lunch without needing anything in the morning. And that's great, because the longer we stay fasted, not starving, fasted, the better chance we have of reaching autophagy levels longer. And the longer we stay in autophagy is better, because autophagy, the second key to optimal health in our trinity of optimal health, is the ability to recycle cells. Think about this. Your body has a natural process of not needing to create new cells, which happen during feasting, when we're eating and we're consuming food. That pads our cells to create more cells, red blood cells. But if we have, like perfectly good used cells, why do we need to spend energy and have an intake of more calories just to create brand new cells? It's almost like we have perfectly good used furniture in the house, and we just need to, we need to tidy up this, tighten the screw up on this leg of an armchair, or resting on the arm of a sofa or whatever, or the coffee table. It just needs to be cleaned. It's not broken, it's not unusable, it's just really dirty, maybe it has some stains on it, and to make it new, you just clean it. Same process. So think about that when you're talking about autophagy. When we think about recycling cells, it's basically it's reusing cells that would have otherwise been thrown away. And that right there helps the body prepare for healing. Healing is super important. Cortisol and insulin, my wife reminded me yesterday, stops the body from healing or slows it down tremendously. And if we are able to tap into autophagy longer, that gives us more time for the body to heal. And we are always needing to heal, whether you're working out or not. Just by living life and walking around, stressing, working on things, getting up and down, doing all these things, we are still using cells and breaking down muscles, maybe not as much as weightlifting or working out, but we are still using cells, and our body needs repair. And so the concept is kind of like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't throw out the perfectly good used furniture. Just repair it. Repair it, clean it, repair it, tighten the screws, whatever it is. Think about it that way. Instead of saying, oh no, this chair is kind of squeaky, instead of putting WD-40 on it or tightening up the screws, we just throw the chair out. Nah, you tighten the screws, you clean the table, you reuse. And that is the concept for autophagy. So back to the eating regimen. If you wake up and you notice that, hey, you know what, I'm not terribly hungry, but maybe I could eat something. And since society has told us, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you should load yourself up with a bunch of fuel, aka carbs, and protein. Yeah, they say eggs, eggs is part of that. But they're saying, oh no, toast and bread and cereal and grains. Replace that with hydration first. If you feel slightly hungry, that doesn't mean you're starving. Starving is much different than just feeling, I could eat something. Replace that with, I'm going to drink 16 ounces of water over the course of 10 minutes. And then after that 10 minutes, wait a little bit and see, are you still hungry? Or still have hunger pains? If you still feel a little hungry, like, oh yeah, I could eat something, drink another 16 ounces of water. And you do that twice. At the end of that 25, 30 minutes, if you still feel hungry, that means you are hungry. But I guarantee it, majority of the time, you're going to feel fine. You're going to be like, you know what? I'm okay. You might have a little caffeine in the morning. I've been trying to break that habit, because really cold showers, we'll talk about that later, is the biggest energy boost, helps us with our nervous system. But if you might get a little caffeine in you, that's great. Some green tea or black coffee, no sugar, something that doesn't spike insulin. So now let's move on to the concept of insulin. We just talked about autophagy and how your body has a natural mechanism of healing cells and repairing those naturally. When you have stress, cortisol, and when you have insulin production, man, you are not healing. The body cannot heal when you are in those two states, when you have stress, cortisol, and two, producing insulin, going through an insulin spike. Man, we are just being spawn trapped. Oh, we are playing free-for-all. Welcome to free-for-all, everybody, where everyone is an enemy. But back to the talk. When you have those two processes happening, insulin production and cortisol release of stress, then yeah, you're not able to heal. The body is simply not able to heal. And that is very detrimental, especially for people who have diabetes. Diabetics have a really hard time repairing. And so I would say, for type 2, get to a ketosis diet and get into autophagy longer. Stay in a state of recycling cells longer, because that is improving your ability to produce cells, but not new cells, not creating cells or needing to have new cells. No, instead, it's just saying, I have an ability to reuse, so I'm not going to require more food, thus spiking my insulin to produce more cells. So it's being a little smarter with the body and the mechanisms of creating cells, or really cells, overall cell count. And that is going to help you repair, heal the body overall. And because we know that having a big meal is harmful to the body. Overeating is one of the worst things you can do. I know there's a lot of celebrations around food where people overeat, and it's hard because sometimes that is like a cultural thing ingrained throughout generations to overeat. Throughout many different civilizations, like many different cultures have celebrations around overeating. Or rather, they use overeating as a form to augment celebration. Why do we celebrate with food? This is the primal, primitive way. Because back when we were living in caves, ancient, primal beings, food was everything. Food meant you were going to live, you and your tribe were going to live another day. It was just that, because we didn't have microwaves, we didn't have refrigerators. So having a meal meant great to the tribe, because that means, hey, our family is going to survive yet another day. And so we were in a state of survival. Right now, we are in a state of excess. And I'll just say that for most of the world, and I'll say most of the world, we live in excess. We have excess food, we have excess means of producing food, and we have excess waste as a result. You know that most people throw away a third of their groceries that they buy. So you go to the store, you load up on groceries, and it costs $100. $35 of that is spent just to throw in the trash. And that is disgusting to me, because that shows us that we aren't being smart with our purchasing power. Here in the United States, we most certainly have purchasing power to go to the store and buy groceries to bring home and prepare meals for our family each and every day. Most people in the world don't have quite as much purchasing power as the United States does, and that's okay, but we recognize that there has to be something done. There has to be something done around this whole mechanism of purchasing food and creating a lot of waste and throwing it away. Think about your refrigerator as your body. And autophagy is recycling that fuel in your body for these means of productions, or the means of sustaining optimal health. You want to reuse and want to be smart with your refrigerator. Your refrigerator is kind of like your body, so think about it that way. Your refrigerator, you'll bring stuff in, and like I said, you'll throw a third of it out as waste. Why don't you recycle that third groceries? Here's why. You need to, because it's optimal, not just for money's sake. I mean, it costs a lot of money to buy groceries, and then to tell me that you're just going to throw most of it out, or sorry, a third of it out, is super wasteful. Switch out of free-for-all. It's super wasteful to do that, you know? Let me grab some water. It's extremely wasteful to throw away a third of your groceries when groceries are already pretty expensive, you know? Same thing with your cells in your body. It is expensive for the body to always be needing new cells because we have a dependency on eating more than once a day or twice a day, because we're wasting a lot of cells in that process. We're not reusing the good cells, you know, the perfectly good sofa that just needs a little bit of fabric sewn together, or that squeaky chair that just needs some screws tightened, or maybe some WD-40. We know that it's expensive to buy more groceries, so look at that in terms of your health. It's expensive for the body to produce new cells and throw away a lot of perfectly good used cells simply because we're eating too much of the wrong foods at the wrong times. Autophagy is the solution to that. Autophagy says, I'm going to recycle my cells, the perfectly good used cells, and use that instead of needing an influx of calories to produce more red blood cells that way. So if we look at that, we could say, yeah, our body's like a refrigerator. We don't throw away a third of the groceries we buy. We don't throw away a third of the cells, maybe more, simply because we are eating in certain societal patterns that have been ingrained in us since we were kids, that you need 3 meals a day, and breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You need to break the fast. No, you don't break the fast simply because it's morning. You break the fast when you absolutely need to. It's a really radical way of thinking, but it's also very primal, very primitive, like I was saying. Our ancestors did that, and they were able to outrun their food. If we can leverage a little bit of what our ancestors did, we can look at how efficient they were with using calories. We are very wasteful in the Western world. We are very wasteful with our groceries, and we are very wasteful with our calories. We have too much, and I would say a lot of poorly chosen use of our calories, in so much that we have an influx. We have so much calories that are just simply spent and wasted when we could not have them at all and utilize the calories that we're already storing. So that goes back to ketosis, using our energy reserves as our fuel reserves, our energy reserves, to burn as fuel for energy, instead of needing every 2 or 3 hours something in our mouths. It's a radical concept, and I'm not saying to everyone right now, start fasting, because it takes time. Anything worth doing takes time and is hard. And fasting is one of the more challenging things I swear you'll ever do. Yeah, running a marathon's hard, but skipping a couple of meals day after day can be a lot harder for certain individuals, because we have gone decades of always eating more than we need in the wrong amounts at the wrong times. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but it's just wasteful. And so I'm speaking really to the energy levels. If you are noticing every morning you're waking up tired, you're waking up brain fog, you're waking up inflamed, your muscles hurt, then reassess what you're eating at the wrong times and the wrong amounts, and that's how you create good, long-lasting change. So it's kind of like you have to get to a point where you become selfish of your health, get to a point where you say, you know, I don't need to be always inflamed. I don't need to always be eating just because it's noon and, it's lunchtime, we gotta eat something, right? Otherwise you go hungry. You might just be thirsty. That's the first thing to assess in the morning, especially in the morning. Because, like I said, the morning is the most sacred time of really utilizing energy in the right way, because you have just gone, hopefully, 7 or 8 hours without eating, and you're going to be thirsty because, yeah, you're not drinking in the middle of the night. You might wake up in the middle of the night and need some water, and that's perfectly fine. But the first thing you should do in the morning is drink 16 ounces of water over the course of 10 minutes. Reassess after 5 minutes or so. Hey, do I feel like I could eat something? Yeah, I could eat. Drink another 16 ounces of water. And I could talk about cold water, the differences between cold water and warm water, or definitely not hot water. But it has to do with the way the body regulates temperature of water before we digest it. When you drink ice cold water, it will help the body with its metabolism, because you have to warm that water up ever so slightly to begin to process it and digest it. When you drink lukewarm water, it doesn't need to go through that process, so you don't really have that metabolism spike. So I would dare say cold water, yeah, it's better than a hot coffee. Hot coffee just gives you that anxiety caffeine rush. That's it. Cold water gives you a metabolism, I wouldn't say boost, just a little bit of pep in your metabolism. And boy, that probably is all you need in the morning. And a cold shower. I'd recommend a cold shower. So that's the first thing to do. Help prolong your state of autophagy. And it's very important. Yeah, breaking the fast is the most important when it comes to what you're eating when you haven't been eating in a prolonged time. But who says breaking the fast needs to happen at the moment you wake up? Society says that. Society says, well, we need to have you eating first thing so you can go into a state of digestion. And what happens? So we haven't talked about this. We've talked about autophagy staying there for a long time. But we haven't talked about, where does blood go? Blood carries with it oxygen, among other things. We have, when we sleep, when the body's done processing food, and when the body's done healing all the things that it needs to heal, where does the blood go? Like the majority of it, I'm not saying all of it. Where does the blood usually go? It goes up the corpus callosum into the place of skull here in Golgotha. It stays there, and it's great to be there because that's where all the oxygen is. It brings oxygenated blood to the brain over long periods of fasting. Because think about it, when you are eating a big meal, all that oxygenated blood drains from the brain down into your belly, and it stays there for 35-40 minutes to process, depending on how much you've had to eat, all that food. And so what happens, you see this all the time. People go out for lunch every day around noon, 30. They'll eat a meal, robs the brain of all the oxygenated blood, goes to their belly for digestion for the next 35-45 minutes. And sure enough, 1:30, 2 o'clock hits, and they are feeling lethargic, tired. They get sleepy, right? Everyone's a little groggy after lunchtime. Everyone kind of wants to go for a nap. That's how it happens. That's how it happens. It's so easy when you understand that. It's just pure body science. The mechanisms in the body of what you're doing at the time of digestion. It robs the brain of oxygenated blood. So your ability to think quickly, have cognitive, abilities, and being able to process things quickly and feel energetic comes from your brain having oxygenated blood. That's it. And your brain is sustained with energy based on your meals, but not your immediate meal. Food is not energy. Food packs your energy reserves. Unless you're drinking pure sugar, or on the marathons, you're eating those glucose, all right, another bloodthirsty. You're eating those blood, high sugary, oh, there's Tempest. That's it. We're done with this gun, okay. When you do that, your body has received instant energy based on that sugar because, like I said, glucose and sugar and carbs are the primary method of fuel for the brain to use as energy. It's not the preferred. Ketones is preferred. And so what happens is, you go through this process where your brain simply has an influx of sugar, and that treats it as energy. So what happens is, the brain forever and ever, unfortunately, is going through these weird spikes and dips of energy based on what we're feeding it. And that is so important to recognize because it's not sustainable. The brain hates flip-flopping on energy. It hates going through those dips, hates the spikes, hates the dips. And that happens because we're eating the wrong foods at the wrong time and the wrong quantities. That's basically it. So watch out. If you feel like you are always tired after lunch, try skipping it. It sounds crazy, I know. But here's the thing. Your mind is what carries the body. Mind over matter, right, ninjas? The mind says to the body, I'm in control. We are not in control when we are always eating and we're always digesting food, because that's robbing the brain, the superpower, the supercomputer, super processor, of the ability to make its own decisions, because we're taking that oxygenated blood and we're pulling it down back into the belly. And the belly is where it says, hey, I'm digesting food. I need all the oxygenated blood here to help process this meal. And boy, oh boy, do we get robbed of that. We get robbed of that. So it's weird because, like I said yesterday, how the less I eat, the more awake and better I feel, because I'm thinking clearer. I have the biggest boost in cognitive energy when I'm not eating. When I eat food, dinner, there it goes. I can instantly feel, man, my brain's kind of slowing down, it's winding down, and that's fine because that's the process. But if you're doing that 3, 4, 5 times a day, yeah, that's why you go through maybe even mood swings with food. Maybe that's why you even have problems, staying awake at work. I'm telling you, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I went through, a decade and a half of working in an office job before I finally got it. I would go through all the different diets of having a lot of protein and carbs in the morning. I would make like 2 eggs, and it was either with rice or with a couple of slices of toast. And I'd say, yeah, this is a good breakfast, right? I'd eat that, and I would eat that right as I got to work. And then 35, 40 minutes later, I was nodding off. And I kept thinking, well, it's because I probably didn't sleep last night. No, I'm pretty selfish with my sleep. And I've never really had irregular sleep patterns. It's all been, I sleep like a husband every night. But it's not really normal for me to not have a good night's sleep, because I always work out. I always work out every day. And that right there kind of shows me that working out also helps regulate your sleep. We'll talk about that later. But I was in this pattern of, okay, well, I need more food to give me more energy. And so that was like 8 o'clock, I would have eggs and toast. And then by 10:30, I'd have granola. I'd either have it in a bowl with yogurt, or I'd have a couple of granola bars. And yeah, I would say, okay, here's my energy boost. But it wasn't really an energy boost, was it? It was actually like a sugar boost, because there was sugar in the granola, sugar in the yogurt. No fat, right? Because fat's the enemy. And that's what I used to think, 15 years ago. And so that gave me a little pep, but I'd also have coffee, so I'd have an anxiety caffeine rush. But then by noon 30, I was hungry again, and I felt like my energy levels were dipping. And so I felt, well, I need to eat more food so I can have more energy. Because there's that whole backwards mentality of thinking that food is energy. No, food packs our energy reserves. So I'd have lunch, tuna and rice, or some type of chicken and rice, and I was eating a lot of kimchi back then, so I'd have kimchi along with it. Pretty powerful stuff. A solid meal of like 600, 750 calories. And yeah, I feel like, okay, I'm getting food in me, and so I was kind of telling myself, well, now I should have energy, right? I should have energy. I gotta remember this is a burst fire assault rifle. And so I was just in this weird state where I was eating, thinking that I was gaining energy, but it was a lie. And I know you have felt that too. Anyone that eats the same standard American diet, the SAD diet, especially at the wrong times, 3 times a day, plus snacks and dessert, you know that you don't have energy consistent throughout the day. Everybody, especially those that work in the office, always goes through those highs and lows, those slums of energy, those spikes, and then dips. It's just, we are past the point of not knowing how the body works because there's too much science, real body science, proving how you can sustain energy levels. And that comes from fasting. And that is such a backwards way to the norm, to the societal norms, that others say otherwise. They say, no, if you're not eating every 2, 3, 4 hours, then boy, you're gonna have no energy. But that's under the false pretense that food is energy. And like I'm always yelling, food is not energy. Food packs your energy reserves. That's it. It always has, it always will. Except the high sugar. So this is the other thing. Most people drink soda, and most people drink the high sugary soda. Here in my state, they have these fizz dispensaries basically. Drive-thrus are always filled with people buying 32 ounce, maybe even 64 ounces of sugary soda. Why? Because they use that to carry themselves through their workday. They usually see in the office people carrying large containers of sugary soda, and they start their morning with that, and that carries them throughout most of the day, where they grow after. They may not eat breakfast because, yeah, you're getting this constant supply of sugar, this diabetes in a cup, in a big container, and it's harming the body for those reasons we just talked about, spiking the insulin and creating a big flux of sugar, and that is spiking insulin, causing inflammation, and giving you the false pretense of energy, where it's just a sugar rush. True energy, sustainable, maintainable energy, comes from your energy reserves. Everyone has them, even me, like I said, I got love handles, I know you do too, and that's important. Those are our energy reserves. This is a fun map. I really like this map. It's got a good layout, and yeah, got some nice areas, nice scenic areas. So food is not energy. Yes, breaking the fast is the most important meal of the day, but it doesn't need to be right when you wake up. It doesn't need to be right when you wake up. If you're not hungry or have not a big appetite in the mornings, just do this. Skip breakfast. Don't break the fast so quick. Oh, that door closes. That's crazy. Skip it. Instead, drink 16 ounces of water. Wait 10 minutes. See how you feel. 5 minutes later, drink another 16 ounces of water. If you are still hungry, then yes, have something. Now, what you eat, I'll leave that up to you. You know me. I'm all about ketones, high fat, high protein. If you give it a lot of carbs, expect in the next 2 hours, you're gonna need more. If you give it fat and protein, you'll be satiated maybe for a little bit longer. We gotta remove the fear of fat. There is a big fat conspiracy. And I mean that literally. We have, in this great year of our Lord, 2026, still the misunderstanding of what fat is and what it can do for the body. We've been under the lie for a long time, maybe not even just the last 3 decades, maybe longer. I say that only because, the 90s is where we thought we were smart in a lot of things, which is fine. We maybe were here and there, a little worse. Especially with diet, we thought we knew a lot because we had a very well population that was driven on health based on working out. In the 90s, we saw a big upswing of gyms. You can do some research. I've watched a couple documentaries talking about like the fitness boom of the 90s. Yeah, people were getting healthy. People were going for running. Jogging was becoming popular. It always has been a thing, but it was a boom in the 90s. People say, yeah, I could go out for a run. I can go out for a jog. All these things. And that's fine, but what they forgot was, and they didn't really realize, is you can't outrun your calories. You can't outrun your plate or your forks. So they had like half, maybe less of discipline around health and that understanding. All they needed was a little bit more of health knowledge of intake, and that comes from, well, food. All right, there's a bloodthirsty. It comes with understanding how the body works and how it works under digestion, how it works under fasting. And I think if they had that, we wouldn't be in the state we were here now. So what happened was, even though we became more active as a population in the 90s, we didn't have a good understanding of food. Here we go, cue in the AMA that developed the Illuminati food pyramid, which was heavy, dense in carbs, 12 servings of bread, grains, rice, potatoes, noodles, everything. Oh my gosh. And they put fat, the fear of it, at the top, the very tip. They said, use sparingly, right? They also put sugar there too, which is great. Sugar, definitely sparingly. But they put fats and oils in that same category. I'm like, no, they robbed us. They basically lied to us because they said, well, the body gains fat, or excuse me, the body stores fat the more you eat fat. That's a lie. That is an outright lie. The body does not gain and store fat when you give it more fat. It actually starts to let some of it go. Think about it this way. It's like, the body has a mechanism of processing fat, but when you starve it of that natural process, you are not giving it optimal means of utilizing it. There's another bloodthirsty. Wow. I'm just getting some kills here. This Maverick is really tasty. I love it. This and the Maddox are very, very good assault rifles. It's a deficit, and when you starve the body of something that it needs, it's going to try and hold on to it. It's a crazy concept. Your body will say, I am not getting enough fat-free everything. I'm not getting enough fat, so I need to hold on to this like my life depends on it, because they knew it's a very primal, primitive way of survival. The fat reserves, thus our energy reserves, and the body are all about survival. Very primitive way of surviving, because that is the last to go, right? When you are running on a treadmill, you're using the anaerobic exercise. I'm burning carbohydrates, I'm burning glucose. When I'm doing bag work, jiu-jitsu, judo, swimming, hiking, I'm anaerobic state, which is burning fat, which is great. I'll be doing more bag work out here on the channel. But since I'm burning carbohydrates first, it's saying, well, I don't need to store carbohydrates, and so my body will need it. Like on a marathon, if I'm not in ketosis, my body will say, hey, I need sugar every 2 hours that we're running on the treadmill, at least, maybe even an hour and a half. And that's just the different ways of burning fuel for energy, glucose or ketones. And so the body has that mechanism saying, if I'm not getting enough of what I know is part of my energy reserves, then I need to hold on desperately to those very things. So that's why people retain fat, even though they're eating fat-free stuff, fat-free products, loaded with salt or sugar. They're not getting fat, right? Because fat's the enemy. And, if I eat fat, then I'm going to gain fat. No. You need to eat more fat. And the good quality, high quality fats, not the saturated fats. You look at the good butter, you look at the good oils, hopefully not seed oils, and you will know, hey, my body does two things. One, you become fuller, you stay fuller longer, and you also will be satiated as a result. And then you will start releasing fat. Finally, you will start releasing fat. It's just that easy. It's a very backwards concept to what we've been programmed to believe in, and that's okay, because we're rebels on this channel. We are rebels. I think we just got this Maddox, or Maverick, Tempest at that last kill at the last second. Awesome. Okay, well there's another Tempest. I knew we would fly through these assault rifles. they're the fan favorites. You know, you go into a lobby and everyone's running with the assault rifles there. Everyone's running with the M15 mod or the X9 Maverick, which is super tasty. So yeah, let's see what happened. Yeah, we got the Maverick Tempest. Awesome. There's another one. Okay, let's move on. Let's jump into another lobby. Let's talk more health. We are a little bit more than halfway through our 10K, so we're still going strong. All right, the DS-20 Mirage. That's a tasty gun. I think this one's a burst fire as well. Grab some more water. Stay hydrated. Yeah, the body is a well-oiled, highly functional machine, so long as we tune it. It's just like your car. It's just like any car. You give it the right things, if you tune it right, if you keep it optimal, then it's going to perform miracles for you. The body's the same thing, and it's a lot more resilient than we give it credit to. Think about this. We've been poisoning the body for decades with sugar and carbohydrates and stress. The body's still kicking, you know? But it shows up in our inability to think and concentrate for long periods of time. It shows up in our lack of sleep, our sleep apnea, our interruptions during our sleep. And it shows up in our weight gain. And it's unfortunate to know that. I think Jubilee's a new map. Awesome. It's unfortunate because the body at the same time, as it's resilient to the stress and abuse that we give it, it's also easy to change. It's like the body is kind of forgiving, so much that it'll say, you know what, you're giving me a lot of junk in your 20s. You give me a lot of stress in your 30s. And if you keep going in your 40s, then your 50s are gonna feel like hell. You're gonna feel like you are not 50, but you're approaching 55, 60, 65. The body is a great healer. I would dare say one of the best healers the world will ever know, because it can reverse. Know this, even if you are struggling with weight and you've been struggling for a long time, like decades, know that it's not impossible to change. You can change, and you can know that the body can reverse all those bad habits. It just takes discipline. I'm here to spread motivation, but you need to find the discipline to carry yourself forward, carry yourself through. That's it. And so we are a fitness gaming channel. We don't just talk about working out. We don't just talk about cool guns and cool maps. This map is awesome. We talk about also good health. And overall health starts first with food. One day we're going to go through the chakras, and we might on our marathon. I've been wanting to talk about the energy centers, these ganglion nerve endings that correspond to the 12 ganglion nerve beginnings, our cranial nerves in our brain, 12 of them, there's that number again, and how they facilitate life and what we need to do to keep those fully functional. We might just go through each and every one during our marathon because we got a lot of time to talk, and you know me, I'm a talkaholic, so I'll talk your ear off during the marathon. But yeah, it will be necessary because when you start learning about how the body truly works, all right, I got multiplayer assault rifle mastery. Wow, that is quite the accomplishment. So we're almost done with the assault rifles, which is great. I'm glad to get that calling card. Need to get shotguns. We haven't touched shotguns, which is unfortunate because there's a calling card I need to get for 100%er. So after we do Singularity grind, get all the guns nice and shiny, we're going to jump into the 100% multiplayer mastery. If we can do that by the time Modern Warfare 4 comes out, I'll feel really good. Feel really good about having completed this game because I'm already 100% completed zombie mastery and infestation and dark ops mastery with zombies. So I feel like I'm pretty much done, except casually playing the Easter eggs because I love them. So yeah, multiplayer is the last thing we're gonna do. We're not doing Warzone, unfortunately. I think I do need to do endgame, but I don't think I'm gonna get mastery there. I just want to play the story, because it's very, very thick with lore, and I'm writing a book. My wife reminded me yesterday that I need to get back to it. I'm about 17,000 words in, and I have a lot more to go. But yeah, it's a companion guide to Call of Duty, especially Black Ops. So the health on this channel we talk about isn't just physical. It isn't just mental, but yeah, it's spiritual too. So we're going to talk about that, I think, on our marathon, because that's one area, that's one big area of health that I have not discussed, is spiritual health. For me, it's very easy and probably more accepted to talk about physical health, because we know what we need to do. We know that the body needs physical outlet. Hey, check out this pachinko room. Pretty cool. I like it. Wow, it's very colorful in here. Yeah, this is a great map. I love it. Diet health and intake is a little bit attributed to mental health. So that's how we kind of tie into mental health, because food is mood. There's one great saying that you can live by. Food is mood. If you feel awful, if you feel stressed, hey, are you eating stressful food? Are you eating food that makes you feel awful? In my mind, the food that makes you feel good isn't the most palatable or loaded with sugar or salt. I'll just say that. You know that eating a bag of chips will not make you feel good afterwards. It might make you feel good while you're eating it. You know, like, wow, these Doritos or these Cheetos are like amazing, and I'm gonna eat the whole bag. It might taste good, but I'm sure 20 minutes after, you're gonna feel bad. You might even feel stressed. You'll feel really dehydrated too, and it's not good overall. But if you eat a cup and a half of broccoli, yeah, it's not palatable, like highly palatable, like overly, give us that overly sensationalism of this is like the best thing. But the next morning, you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel really good about, wow, I had a really healthy dinner last night, and I had vegetable stir-fried rice, and it was fantastic. And I ate about 2.5 cups of that, and about 2 eggs to go with it, and avocado, and a tablespoon of peanut butter, and a protein shake. And boy, I woke up this morning feeling so good. I spent just about 45 minutes, almost an hour, in the yard doing yard work. And that's just me bouncing back from losing my dog and losing my morning routine. I said, you know what? I can get up early and do yard work during the week. Just 45 minutes or an hour. And that's how much we would walk. So I figure I'm gonna do my dog the justice, and as a tribute, to stay active in the mornings. No more sleeping in. We're bouncing back, guys. We're bouncing back, ninjas. And you do that, you're able to do that when you eat better. Because think about it this way, if you're working out for a long period of time, and I'm talking more than just 35 minutes a day, a couple of days a week, casually working out. I'm talking about if you are doing hour-and-a-half runs or hour runs 4 days a week with a half marathon coming up Sunday, then you know that you need the best quality food in the right amounts at the right time in order to prime the body to sustain those long workouts. You can eat 2,000 calories of processed, highly processed junk food, microwaved even worse, and it's 2,000 calories. But if you feed it high quality, broccoli, meat if you're a meatitarian, or microprotein if you're a vegetarian, and good carbs in the right amounts and good quality butter or fats, then you know that you are going to feel so much better eating 2,000 calories of that than you would, processed, fried junk. Because the body knows that not all calories are created equal. You can have, like I said, 2,000 calories of potato chips or 2,000 calories of broccoli. Well, that'd be a lot of broccoli. And you will feel different. You'll have a lot of fiber. I wouldn't recommend eating 2,000 calories of broccoli. You will be on the toilet for a little bit. But you probably won't be in a bad state mentally and physically than if you were eating 2,000 calories of chips. Additionally, and this is a sensitive subject, so just hear me out. What I'm talking about in health here, physical and dietary health, also leads to mental health. Diet is simply just the intake of what food we're getting. So don't think of a diet as like a fad. Diets die, fads fade, lifestyle changes live with you. Here's how you recognize a quality life improvement. A lifestyle change is that it improves your mood overall. It sustains your mood. I am a hothead. I like to think of myself, when I get mad or angry, I turn into a little Hulk. You know, I'm not a tall guy. I turn into a little green monster. And it's not impossible to break that habit. For me, it's the hardest thing I have to do is maintain my mood. And you know what makes it easier? I'm not saying what perfects it. What makes my mood a little bit more manageable is eating the right foods. It boils down to what I'm eating, how much I'm eating, and at the right times. I know for me that I can be a rageaholic easier than any other pitfall in life. It's easy for me to get mad. It's easy for me to turn ugly and green and a monster. What helps me, and I'm just going to speak to me right now, and my mental health is working out and eating right. When I have those two balanced, I am more inclined to have better mental health, overall sustained, than if I wasn't. Because life will hit you. It'll hit you when you're down. It will give you life challenge after life challenge, and sometimes multiple ones stacked on. And you might find yourself breaking down of saying, gosh, didn't I just go through a life challenge just yesterday or last week or last month? And here we are again with another car problem or house problem or bill problem or I'm losing my dog problem. Like really, it'll keep hitting you. It's necessary. We'll talk about that here in a second, about how it's necessary to go through life changes and life experiences. But what you need to understand is that the body is very forgiving and the body is very highly able to adapt, to change, and evolve. That's what it's been doing for millennia, is evolving and changing with the tides, rolling with the punches. That's what makes the body still able to keep up. Let's pick up the pace with day-to-day stress and life events. Oh, I love prime time, such a good map. So my idea around mental health and my anger management is simply, when I get these life challenges, when I get these struggles, when I get these lows, don't let it break my inner peace. I have to remind myself that. My wife does all too often. Relax, breathe. It'll pass. We can work through it. Whatever it is, we can work through it. And that's super important because I'm reminded of Rocky, because I think it was even the more recent Rocky, an Apollo movie, not the most recent, but one of them, where he says, you know, life isn't about falling, it's about how many punches you can take and still keep going. It's like rolling with the punches. And that I remember hearing, and I said, yeah, that is kind of the ninja way. We know that as ninjas, that we are always going to be faced with turmoil, struggles, challenges. That's what makes life worth living. We have to remember that we live in a static, dynamic, ever-changing universe, and as a result, we must be I said static, non-static, non-static, ever-changing, ever-evolving universe, dynamic. We have to be the same. If we try to say, no, I am perfect in what I'm doing right now, I don't need to change, the world needs to change, right? You know, it's not my problem, it's the world problem. You need to change with it. You need to evolve your character, your mindset, in order to survive. Because if you don't, if you become hard-headed, we'll talk about what that actually means during our marathon run, hard-headed and our skull in general. If we remain hardened to change and resilient, then we will find ourselves at one point or another breaking down, harder than it would be if we were to just roll with the punches and adapt to change. The biggest thing we could do for ourselves is help our bodies prepare for that change. Stress. Stress leads into my anger management, and stress management is everything. Because without it, you can melt down any given point of time. Working out is necessary stress. Going to work, being in traffic, fighting bills, fighting, conflicts, your own internal battles is a way that your body is having to deal with unnecessary stress. So it's unnecessary because it's random, it's ever-changing, and you're not really prepared for it. Because it can blindside. You can say, oh man, everything's fine, and then boom, you have a problem at work, or boom, a problem in your relationship, whatever, and your commitments in your house and whatever. The water main in your house could break, or the heat can go out during winter and you are left without heat. All these changes, and you might just fall apart because you're not prepared to deal with that stress. But in my mind, going back to exercising, that's one factor in helping to relieve unnecessary stress, is by giving the body certain amounts of appropriate necessary stress. So working out, exercise, physical activity in general is necessary stress. I'm stressing the body running, and my body is adapting to it. It's honing in and saying, yeah, we can do this 10K, and guess what? We could do that half marathon come Sunday because this is necessary for me. My mind is prepared and my body is ready to do this, and that's how it's going to happen. So we remind ourselves that we can do miracles. Everybody can perform miracles, not just of physical feats, but of mental feats. And that's most important. When I talk about health, physical health is great, dietary health is wonderful, but mental health is everything. I think yesterday I was even just saying, sometimes if you're really feeling angry, sometimes the right answer is to have that Snickers. It really is. There's been plenty of times where my wife reminds me, hey, are you just angry because you're hungry? Or she'll give me some, ideas about how I could reduce my anger, usually by telling me to calm down. And it's hard because if you're on a discipline, if you're on a regimen that you think is super strong, and it strengthens you overall, and you break down because you can't prepare with a life event or life challenge, then you need to change something. If you're feeling like, oh man, I'm perfect, I'm doing everything right, I'm eating right, I'm trying to drink water, no sugar, anything, no soda, whatever, and I break down or I'm still hot-headed, have a Snickers. Have a Snickers. Save your mental health. Let your mental health take a break from the daily grind and discipline. So that, I would say, is a hard lesson to learn, because this whole time I've been speaking about don't eat sugar, don't eat, overeat, don't eat the wrong foods at the wrong time and the wrong amounts. And that's true, except when you get to those breaking points. When you get to those points where you're like, I need to quiet my mouth and my mind, otherwise I might get fired at my job, or I might get into a fight, an altercation with a stranger on the road. Yes, you take a break, you pull on the brakes, and you have that Snickers, whatever it is. I think Snickers for me is like the perfect snack, because it's loaded with sugar, has caramel, chocolate, now I'm getting hungry now, and peanuts and peanut butter. I think that for me is like the perfect snack, Snickers. But whatever it is for you, maybe it's that slice of cake, maybe it's that pizza, maybe it is half a bag of chips, or the whole bag. The thing is, you have to watch out for your mental health overall, otherwise your daily discipline will falter. You will fall off the wagon. 100%, you will not survive, because it takes a lot of discipline to get to a point where you have a regimen. But you know that there are going to be days, there are going to be exceptions where you have to evolve and change. And sometimes that means having that snack. I always, and this is one thing I could improve, like just the other day my boss was saying, it's donut day at work. Are you coming in to grab a donut? And I said, that's too much sugar for me. What does one donut hurt me? I mean, honestly, I've maintained my weight
for better part of 6 years. I've maintained and managed my weight. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I'm 41 years of age, but I feel like I'm 21. What's a donut gonna do to me? Is the donut gonna make me fall off the wagon, stop running, stop eating healthy? No. You know what the donut's gonna do? Is it's gonna make me a little bit friendlier and socially accepted. Here's the thing about eating healthy. I don't know if you guys have realized, but eating is a lot for community. Going back to the primitive days where food was a celebration out of sheer benefit of surviving another day, the tribe living another day. Here I think we live in excess, and that's what we were talking about, excess. But our minds still have the idea that in order to be celebrating, you need to be eating. And if you're going to be eating something to celebrate, it might as well be nice and sugary, nice and caloric dense, maybe not the best thing for you, but hey, you've earned it, right? Yeah, my life at my office job was kind of alienated simply because I was working so hard to perfect my health, because I realized I was having some abdominal stomach pains a long time ago. And so, as you heard me talk about kimchi, I was eating kimchi to help balance my gut, and I was still having gut problems. And it took me just like 4 or 5 years ago, going into ketosis, to realize that I probably do not do well with carbohydrates, especially bread and pasta. If I eat too much of that, I don't feel good. My body kind of rejects it. I'm not gluten intolerant. I don't have celiac disease, but I think my body doesn't respond well to glucose and carbohydrates. That's why a ketogenic diet for me is perfect. But like I said, I'm not celiac disease, I'm not gluten intolerant. I can have that donut. I can be a little bit more flexible and change my mood based on societal constructs that say, yeah, we need to celebrate with a donut or with pizza or whatever. So my challenge at work has always been kind of feeling alienated, kind of feeling like I am, the outcast, because every time we'd celebrate, we would celebrate with some intangible source of instant gratification, high amounts of sugar, carbohydrates. And I was selfish, I still am, with my health so much that I would reject it and say, no, I am not going to eat that. I'm not going to eat whatever, society says I should, because I'm selfish of my health. But do I need to keep doing that? Like I said, I'm in perfect health, I'm in the best shape of my life, and I feel like I have all the mental acuity and stamina to highly perform at my job. Is it worth me continually alienating myself at my job just because I reject their food? That's something for me to dwell on. All right, let's get some water. Maybe one more match here and we're done. There's a saying, get over yourself, and how you can get out of your way to achieve greatness. For me, in my career, look back on, that was a saying that I would use to help motivate me. A previous director had told me that, and I used it to build my career and accelerate my career. But I think at this point, since I've already made it in my career, and I'm continuing to perform at high levels, I think for me, getting out of my own way now is to, celebrate more, is to, have that donut or that slice of pizza and be okay with it. I don't have a healthy addiction. I think there's an ICD code for healthy eating disorder. I don't have that. I have the right amount of eating to sustain my quality of life that I desire. But for me, it's a little different. It's like a societal indifference, imbalance between me kind of being a social idiot, I'll just call myself out on that, and understanding that you need to take a break sometimes and let the body take a break with you. Your mental health will improve when your mood improves. And like I said, food is mood. And sometimes having that Snickers or that donut or that slice of pizza is what balances you. So yeah, I'm really talking to myself here. Maybe you can learn something from it, but I really am talking to myself here. This is self-help. I like to say that since I don't really get views on my videos, I mean, who's gonna watch this weird bald guy run on a treadmill and mediocrely perform at Black Ops? Not many, right? There's more performing streamers out there that are doing way better at Black Ops than me. So I'm definitely not the biggest or best gamer on this stream on Twitch here, but I use this as kind of like a mirror, a true reflection of how I feel. And I don't really plan on what I'm going to talk about on this channel and during my runs. It just comes to me. And I think that that is a really good way of learning how your mind is doing. When you listen to yourself, and that could be talking to yourself. I know there's this weird, understanding that we have that if you're talking to yourself, you're crazy. Is it crazy to give yourself the benefit of hearing yourself? And who knows you better than you? Does a therapist? Does your spouse? Maybe. Significant other, family members? Yeah, they might know you. They're like, hey, I know you. But you are the only person that truly knows you because you live with you 24/7. 100% of the day. Since you were born, you know you. So I dare say, if you're looking at improving your life, talk to yourself. Listen to yourself. You might be the first time, it might be a little strange, but if you listen to yourself, you might just begin to start to understand yourself. That's what I'll say there. The biggest way of self-improvement is helping yourself. Helping yourself means, listening to yourself, giving yourself a little bit of a break as well. We're ninjas, but we're also peaceful warriors. We are masters of ourselves and our environment, but we are also self-healing, and we are forgiving of ourselves as well. One thing I recognize in my life is that I am quick to forgive others, most of the time, another challenge of mine, but I am never quick at forgiving myself. If I make a mistake, or if I do something wrong, here, true honesty. Last weekend, I was repairing the garage springs on my garage door. Never done it before, but I'm kind of a makeshift mechanic. I've done a lot of car work, and I looked at the YouTube video, studied it, and I said, yeah, I can do this. Instead of paying a guy $500 to do it, I could save the money and do it for $125 and just spend a couple hours on it. So I allocated 2 hours. I said, yeah, first time I've done this, I'm going to take 2 hours to do this. And when it was not going the way I planned, in fact, I ran into a situation where I may have bent a bracket that I had to reposition, and I was unsure of really how to do it until it dawned on me to kind of bend it the other direction differently than taking the vice grips and bending it manually, putting a rod in on the other side and bending it. That worked perfectly. It took me like 20 minutes to get to that point. Oh yeah, I was very mad at myself, and I didn't really forgive myself because I mashed one of my fingers during the process, and it's fine, it's just a bruised thumb. But I got really mad, and I kept thinking, yeah, I'm so done. And I remember saying that to myself, and instantly I felt bad. We are our best friends or our worst enemies. And I know this, I'm not perfect. I struggle with, I wouldn't call it depression, but I would call it self-loathing sometimes. I struggle with perfecting my character to the utmost extent that I actually get mad at myself when I don't do things perfect. We can't expect perfection from ourselves. We shouldn't demand it of others, and we should be forgiving of ourselves when we miss our marks, our targets, our points that say, yeah, this is something that I know I should be able to do. And when things go wrong, life event, we don't get overly critical. We instead say, I'm forgiving, I am patient, I am understanding, and I'm going to do better to avoid that in the future. But gosh, I'm going to, hey, hijacker, but I'm going to instead forgive myself and move on. That self-forgiveness is self-help. I'll say that right now. We could all be, especially me, more forgiving of ourselves, more understanding, more patient. We have to be for others. Why can't we be for ourselves? Why can't we be for ourselves? Let's be a little bit more patient with ourselves. And I'm saying that to me, first and foremost. I need to be more forgiving, and I need to be more understanding of myself. All right, we just hit 6 miles. We are on our way. We're almost done with this 10K, and then we gotta bounce. So we're doing really good. We got 3 guns Tempest today. I can't believe that. But it is assault rifle season, so I can imagine having more success than snipers. That just means, boy, pistols and launchers are just around the corner. We got to get back in on hardcore mode to get those done, which will be fun. I think we'll probably start those sometime next week, because I think after this DS-20 Mirage, we have 1 more assault rifle, and then yeah, we are done with assault rifles. So we're making a lot of progress, feeling really good about that. What a fun map. Onsen's one of my favorite maps that they brought out. Super tight, super beautiful scenery. This big Japanese onsen, hot spring. It's just beautiful. I love it. And I like the tight maps overall. It seems like we got a lot of long maps at launch, and it feels good to have smaller, tighter maps. Cool. We are on our way. Yeah, this is a crunchy map, a crunchy lobby to go with it. How many are we doing? Oh yeah, we have 10 more guns to get Tempest. I cannot believe that. We are there. We are on the home stretch. Yeah, the other day we hit halfway, and now we just got 10 more. But as we know, those last 10 are gonna come pretty hard, because we gotta get melee, we gotta get launchers, the crossbow, and the pistols. 3 pistols, 2 melee, 2 launchers, 1 special. That's 8. What else am I forgetting? I think I might have 2 more. 2 more after this. So 1 and 2. Yeah, so there's this assault rifle and then another assault rifle, and then we're there. Wow, this is great. Such a fun journey. We're in it for the grind. We're not perfecting. We're not perfectionists, and I gotta stop wanting to be perfect. I'm not gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna be progressive. I'm going to progress, meet my goals little by little, and I'm gonna be forgiving of myself. And I'm just saying this because it's a reminder to myself. When you say something, especially if you write it down and repeat it, it sticks. And it sticks a lot more than somebody saying it to you. You know, it could be a close friend, even your spouse, saying, hey, you know, you need to stop this or start this. But if you say it to yourself and really mean it, then it really sticks. And that's why it's very important to talk highly of ourselves and to speak kindly to ourselves. So that's the message I want to share today for mental health. We are done with our 10K. We got to bounce. It's been a fantastic run today. Getting that 10K done makes us feel really good about hitting our half marathon come Sunday. So Sunday's going to be a super marathon, half marathon, by the way. And we're going to be just continually grinding, building up our energy. Hey, there we go, 3rd place. Not too bad, Moto. We're going to be continually building up our energy and packing on our energy reserves to sustain us for that next marathon happening on August 16th. I'm setting it, making it happen. It's going to be great. I hope you're along for the journey, and I hope you got something out of this workout. I know I did. Again, I'm mostly speaking to myself with everything that I say. If I can say one thing, it's to be kind to yourself and watch out for your mental health first and foremost. As always, it's a privilege and honor for me here, Kevin the Ninja, to be running and gunning on the Moto Dojo. We're victorious in our 10K. I hope you guys have a fantastic Thursday. We're gonna take a break Friday, Saturday, come back strong Sunday for our half marathon run. Let's go get Thursday, everybody. We've earned it. Take care of yourselves, everyone.